Hello and welcome back. And before we start the next little exercise, we were left with the break dancer. And as I've said in the previous videos, please make sure you do File and you do Save Now. However, if you are to go to your folder, your own folder, you might well see the last two exercises called Untitled. So before you actually save this, just call it up here, Breakdancer. And then if you go File and Save Now, you're going to make sure that if you go into your folder, you can see that it has been saved appropriately. Okay, so once you've done that, you need to go to Create. And we're going to create something where we are creating a story. So instead of saving it at the end, let's save it at the beginning. And let's call it Story. And in this exercise, we're going to be having two sprites having a conversation. We're going to be putting in a backdrop in which we have some music attached to it. So let's start off with the backdrop. First of all, delete this sprite and then go to the backdrop. Don't get confused between the two. It's this one we want here, and go and choose backdrop. Now it's supposed to be a scary story. So if we go to outdoors, you can have a look and you can see what there is and try and pick your own scary background. The scariest one I found was this one called Jungle. Now, what we want to do is, once we start, we want some music to start. And so we're going to go to Control, and we're going to go to Events and click on When Clicked. We want to go to Repeat because we want the music to play while we go through this little story. So by going to Control, we go to Repeat, and I have found that repeating this sound twice is going to be enough. Okay, so where do we get the sound? Well, we'll need to go to here where it says this, and we want to click Play Sound until done. Now, what sound do we want? Well, we don't want pop, so we go to Sound, and let's get rid of pop. And the one I've chosen, and there's lots, but if we go to this which says Cave and pick Cave, you're going to find that one is quite appropriate. So we go back to Code and we choose Cave. So that's going to play twice. Right, so that's the backdrop done. Now we need to go into our sprites. And we're going to pick two. So we're going to pick on this. And I would like to use a bat. And it's this one here. So I'm going to pick him. And I'm going to pick another one. So we go to here. I'm looking for people. And there's lots and lots and lots. But the one that I have found most useful to use is going to be, in fact, I'm going to type him in here, is this fellow here. Not reindeer, but D. So I'm going to pick him. So these are the two, and these two are going to have a conversation. Now, I want D to stand here, and I'll have the bat about here. Okay. So let's stick with the bat first of all, because he's the one who's going to be starting the conversation. We go to we go to Events, and I want When Clicked. So you can tell that we are in the bat sprite code because of up here. So When Clicked, and we want him to say something. So if we want him to say something, we need to go into Looks, and we want him to say, for a couple of seconds, not hello, but maybe something a little bit more interesting, such as, want to hear a scary story? Question mark. And that's going to take the reader a little bit longer than 2 seconds to read, so let's make it 3 seconds. And then, once we've got that, we want there to be a waiting period while we have this fellow talking. So we'll go over to control and we're going to wait, or the bat's going to wait 2 seconds before he speaks again. So just so we get a thread of the story, let's go into D now. And we're going to go to events and when clicked. So we now know that the bat has spoken and D needs to listen to what the bat had to say. So we can't interrupt him. So we need to make sure we have a wait. And that wait is going to be 3 seconds. So the bat's going to talk for 3 seconds. That means that D's got to wait for 3 seconds before he says something. So we go into looks and we want him to say, yes, please. Well, that doesn't take such a long time to read, but the bat's still going to have to wait, and so there's no rush. Again, you can play with these waits. I am going to go and put a wait in of 3 seconds, just so that there's no rush there. Okay, so let's go back to the bat. So the bat says, want to hear a scary story? And as we know, D goes, oh, yes, please. And then the bat says this, into looks, and he's going to say, and this is going to take 3 seconds. So let's put 3 seconds in now. He's going to say, D, this will really scare you. Exclamation mark. Okay, so we need to have a little bit of a wait here. So we're going to go to control and we're going to wait because D doesn't want to interrupt him. Okay, so now we need to go back to D. And we're going to go to looks and we're going to do something else. Rather him speaking, we want him to think. So we'll go think for 3 seconds. And he's going to go, comma, how did he know my name? Question mark. And we'll make sure that the reader can read that for a period of time. So we'll put that on a wait for 2 seconds. Now, as you can see, we can slide, but at this point, let's have a look at some of the layouts. So we've got this layout, or we can go to here, and so we can see our code more easily. We could go to here, where we can see just this. So there are lots of different layouts. I'm going to go and pick this one, okay? Right, so we've got the backdrop, where we've got some code in here. We've got D doing some talking, and we've got the bat doing some talking. Okay, so let's have a look at our story. So all we have to do is click. Okay, so that's how you make a simple story. Go away and try and use different sprites, add in a few extra lines. You might want to write the lines down first on a piece of paper before you start putting them into Scratch. But go and have some fun, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.